everyone, welcome to my channel. So today I'm going to be working out of Kerby Rosanes' new book, Alien Worlds. So over the weekend, my family, we went and saw the new Guardians of the Galaxy movie, and it really inspired me to do kind of a space page out of this book, and I already started on it, and it is there's a little bit of a story here. So I started working on it yesterday. This is page 8 and 9, which is actually supposed to be the Lost Paradise. However, I'm not making it look very paradise-like, I guess. I'm going to be kind of starting off. As you can see, I've already started part of it off camera, but this is going to migrate from orange, reds, to purples, to blues, to black here over here on this side. So all of this area is going to be colored with my black Prismacolor pencils to get in all of these little rocks and areas. And a lot of these little ones that are mostly black, I am just covering up with the pencil because it's like, yeah, they're really too small to deal with. But what I wanted to do is tell you a little bit about my rough start with this page. First of all, my version of this book was printed in the US. I looked it up here. Okay, so it's Random House printing in the United States of America. So this copy of this book, I'm not too fond of the paper quality. I have to say, I have used water mediums in some of Kerby's other books, his older books, and got much better results. So granted, I should have tested in the back of the book, and I did do some. This is just ink pads, not distress ink, but regular ink pads, and it did bleed through here, which is fine. This is the back where it tells about all of the different pages, and I have no problem with that. Where was I going with this? Okay, so I knew that it wasn't as nice quality, as thick, or bleed proof as some of his older books, but I was a little I don't know, I just wasn't thinking, and started to try to do watercolor on this page without prepping it or anything, which was my mistake. And but that's fine. You can see here it bled through quite a bit. So definitely a no-go for watercolors in this book, at least this version of this printed version of this book. So I was trying to think, oh my goodness, how can I cover that up? I even kind of messed up the paper here. It took off like the top layer. But I was thinking, how am I going to cover that up? I want it to have a really opaque covering, like you would get with using like heavy pigmented watercolors. So I thought to use my, grab them here for you, my Gallery Mungyo oil pastels. So I have this set of 48 colors, and I started using them, and I just started by using like purples, reds, oranges, and yellows right here, and just scribbling them down. And then I used my paper stump here with just a little bit of Gamsol. So what I did was I took my my pipette that I have designated for Gamsol, pipetted some into this little well on my palette, and dipped the end of my paper stump in, and then just kind of worked in, not super circular. Some of it was streaky up and down, some of it circular, just depending on how I wanted it to look. And I was amazed at how this turned out. So I thought I would do the rest of the background on camera, and I will try to, I'll put up the colors that I'm using, just in case you want to follow along. And then once the background is complete, I'll start working on the rest of the page as far as the planets and the stones and the spaceship and everything. And I'm not sure if I'm just going to do these in pencil or if I'm going to base it with a little bit of Neo color too. I'm not sure about that yet, but right now my focus is the background. So I'm just going to go ahead and get started on that. Okay, a couple things I forgot to mention in my intro there. First of all, these oil pastels, you know, I don't know how many of you have worked with oil pastels before, but they are pretty messy. So you definitely want to make sure that you have like an old rag or paper towel or something to wipe your hands off with. I also ended up using a paper towel to rest my hand on a little bit later on in the video, just so I wouldn't smear the oil pastel into the rocks or the planet there. Additionally, you will need to set this page. Once you get done with it, you'll need to set it with some kind of fixative spray. That way it doesn't transfer paper. When you close the book, the colors don't transfer to the opposite side. Also, as a precautionary, you might want to just stick a piece of paper in between the two pages when you go to store your book. Some of you who are more experienced than me with working with oil pastels might have some good suggestions. But I do believe it sets up and hardens more over time and exposure, so that will definitely help keep it from smearing once your project is finished. Okay, and so as I start working around those little rocks in the asteroid belt, I'm going to try and get as close as I can with the oil pastel, but you know, they do have that fat end, so it's not very pointed. I'm going to blend as best as I can with my paper stump around the rock. And then I am going to just go in with my Prismacolor pencil and match up the color of the oil pastel with a Prismacolor pencil and just get in really tightly right around those rocks. And I found that that worked really well, and I'll be showing that a little later on in the video. So here's how I blended those oil pastels. I just grabbed my paper stump and dipped it a little bit in that Gamsol. The Gamsol helps kind of loosen it up a little bit, and it helps with the blending process. And I just use kind of a medium pressure and just blended in those colors with kind of a circular motion in some areas and vertical motion in others, just kind of creating the look that I wanted and working my way there across the page. So I found that you can add layers on top of each other and basically just go over with your new color just lightly. And when you blend, you just want to kind of lightly blend those two colors together. Okay, so here's where I brought in my indigo blue Prismacolor pencil and just kind of started filling in those areas that are really tight around the rocks in the asteroid belt, and found that that worked out really nicely. All right, and continuing on with that indigo blue, I'm just going to continue in filling the space now with colored pencil for this part of the page. And then I'll eventually switch over to using my black pencil. Right, so once I have all of that black filled in with my black Prismacolor, I'm just going back in with that lightest blue color, just adding some bits of blue in some random places to add a little bit more interest to the page.